Good morning, social media family. It's Regina DMP, and I want to welcome you to Wellness Wednesday. Today, we're going to tackle jealousy and insecurity and how these lead to anxiety and depression. So, once again, you may remember before we talked about anxiety and depression, and a lot of times it's a perception of a perceived threat. May not be an actual threat, but a perceived threat. And so when we are unable to deal with our perceptions and deal with reality, they can actually lead to behaviors that stem or feed into anxiety and depression. So, some of you guys know I'm a dual certified family nurse practitioner and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and I do have clients that I see. A topic that actually came up was one of jealousy. So I wanted to actually deal with jealousy today. And so if you go to sources like psychologytoday.com, you look at the DSM-5, you look at the Bible, we'll see, terms like jealousy, envy, insecurity, covet, things of that nature. And so I wanted to actually begin to address jealousy and insecurity and how it feeds into anxiety and depression. So, when we talk about jealousy, if you go to psychologytoday.com, they say jealousy is a complex emotion. It can encompass feelings that range from suspicion to rage to fear to humiliation. It affects all people, all genders, all ethnicities, all races, and basically, and even sexual orientations. And it says it typically is aroused when a person perceives a threat to a valued relationship from a third party. And the threat could be real or imagined. Point in case, I was speaking with a young lady and she had issues with her boyfriend liking pictures on social media. And my question to her was, well, did the person look good in the photo? She kind of looked at me like, huh? Did the person look good? If the person looked good, admit it. That person looked great. Now, why do you perceive the threat of that person? Is it because you want to look like that person? You want a body like that person? You want a personality like that person? We must get our perceptions in check because she perceived the threat. Could it be real? Could be. Was it in her imagination? Could be. But we have to learn how to, number one, love ourselves. We have to have security within ourselves when we get into a relationship. Point in case, one plus one equals two. When you are in a relationship, you need one whole person plus another whole person to equal one whole relationship. If you have a half person plus another half person, and when I say half people, I'm talking about people who bring garbage, baggage into relationships. They bring past relationships into the new relationship. So when you get a half person plus a half person, it does not equal a whole relationship. It equals a half relationship. If you get one whole person plus a half person, you're still going to get half of a relationship. So when you get into a relationship, you need to make sure, number one, that you are whole. Being whole means you are financially secure, you are financially stable, you are mentally stable, you hold a job, you have legal means of bringing in money. We have to stop settling for less than or taking things that aren't for us. We have to make sure that when we get into relationships that we have dealt with our past, that we have dealt with the issues. Because if we come into relationships and we're not whole, it's going to be a disadvantage to the relationship. I'm not saying it can't work, but you want to you want to be whole. So, and I always say, focus on you, worry about you. How are you doing? Not how is your significant other doing? How is your spouse doing? How are you doing? Are you secure? Are you whole? Can you perceive reality versus the imagination? Can you perceive what is true versus what is not true? And I get it. Sometimes we can't take people at their word, but really and truly, you don't have a choice but to take a person at their word. If you believe that person, then believe that person. If you're in doubt about something, then tell that person you're in doubt. And one thing I must say, because when we talk about jealousy and insecurity, sometimes people are able to work through it, but people can get hurt. People can be killed behind jealousy and insecurity. Don't put your hands on anyone. If you're feeling that, you need to leave. Don't even think about trying to kill someone because you're jealous and insecure. You need to leave. Don't cut someone's tires. Don't spray paint their car. And don't go to the person who you think they're with or whom they may actually be with. You need to deal with that person. I am just really irritated when I look at social media and I see, let's say, a woman finds her man cheating, but she wants to blame the other woman. No, you need to deal with the man, not with that woman. And same thing for men. Your wife or your girl is cheating. You don't go deal with that other man. You deal with her. You talk to her. And so we have to get into the mindset that we keep our hands to ourselves. There's no reason to put your hands on anyone. Walk away before you ever, ever, ever put your hands on anyone. But getting back to it, so I was speaking with a young lady, and basically I asked her, did the person in the photo look good? If they look good, like the photo too. There's no reason to stalk anyone on social media. If you have to stalk someone, there is no trust and you're insecure and you need to deal with your insecurity. So jealousy, it can be a perception of a threat to a relationship. And when you get that, you become anxious, you become depressed. Those things will manifest themselves. So, once again, we have to work on becoming a whole person. Because remember, one whole person plus one whole person equals one whole relationship. A half person plus a half person is a half relationship. So, let's normalize getting ourselves into that mindset and get and working on ourselves because life is life. Remember, I told you before, good things happen to good people, good things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. So we have to remember life is life. There are ups and downs. As long as we don't stay in the down, as long as we don't stay in the valley, and we work on coming out of the valley, then we can be productive, effective, and efficient people. So, with jealousy and insecurity, we need to find out what our underlying reasoning is. Our childhood, past trauma, adverse childhood events, racism, sexism, social determinants, lack of food, lack of community, lack of housing. You guys, there are so many reasonings behind jealousy and envy. But we must begin to look at why am I feeling this way? It takes a real adult to truly ask themselves the question, why am I feeling this way? And it takes a mature person to be honest with themselves to say, you know what? I'm insecure. I'm insecure about whatever it is you're insecure about. I was, just meditating this morning and doing my grounding this morning, and there are some verses from the Bible. And whether you believe in it or not, that's up to you. But Hebrews 13:5, I'm going to read it to you. It says, this is the amplified version. Let your character or moral disposition be free from the love of money, including greed, lust, and craving for earthly possessions and be satisfied with your present circumstances and with what you have. For he, God himself, has said, I will not in any way fail you, nor give you up, nor leave you without support. When we have lack in our lives, that can lead to jealousy. We begin to covet or want what other people have. And that can lead us to work three, four, five jobs. Some people, it leads them to steal. Some people, it leads them to do fraudulent things. We have to work for what we have. We have to look at where we are. We must make plans to where we want to go and put those in actions. You know the cliche, Rome wasn't built in a day. Unless you win the lottery, things will not turn around for you in an instant. I'm not saying that they can't, because I do believe they can, but we have to work for what we want. So we cannot allow greed to lead us to jealousy and insecurity. And now we're dealing with anxiety and depression. Another verse from the Bible comes from Luke chapter 12, verse 15. It says, He said to them, Watch out, guard yourselves against every form of greed. For not even when one has an overflowing abundance does his life consist of, nor is it derived from possessions. So once again, you look on social media, you see someone driving a big house, you see someone driving a fancy car. I remember my spiritual mother said to me, You want a BMW? You have to make sure you can pay the note. You have to make sure you can get tires. You have to make sure you can maintain, okay, that BMW. So you may look at someone and see, oh, she got a great body. Well, she may have had a breast augmentation. She may have had a Brazilian butt lift. She may have had liposuction. So she spent money and she had to deal with some pain and she had to deal with body contouring to keep that body the way it is. So a lot of times we'll look at people and we see what they have, but we don't know what it cost them. We don't know what they had to do to get it. So once again, as we talk about jealousy and insecurity and how it leads to anxiety and depression. So we really have to work on ourselves. So here are 10 points to help you out with jealousy and insecurity. So number one, self-awareness. You need to know you. Understand that feelings of jealousy and insecurity, they could be perceived, they could be true, but you got to deal with your perception. You have to recognize that these emotions, they're real and you must address them. So be self-aware. You need to know your why. Step number two, identify your triggers. It could be a situation, a person, a circumstance that triggers your feelings of jealousy and insecurity. What is the trigger? Is it real? What do you need to do within you? Communication. You need to be open and honest. If you're in a relationship, you can tell that person, it makes me feel uncomfortable when I see you liking these pictures. But if it's their job or if it's, a lot of us are in service industries and relationships and networking are very important. Now, I do know some people can take it overboard, but if that person is in the service industry and they have to network and make relationships with other people in order to move forward, to go ahead, to get business, then your significant other needs to understand that. So to sit and say, I don't want you liking her picture, you know what? We got to become secure within ourselves. We really need to deal with insecurities. We can't sit and try to put another person in jail because we're in jail. They say misery loves company. So, and people, you need to, if somebody's coming at you and they're saying those kinds of things, you need to honestly think, do I want to be in this relationship? Because this person has some jealousy and insecurity that needs to be dealt with. So you need to decide, because sometimes we'll be like, oh, she just likes me. Oh, he just likes me. But once again, jealousy and insecurity have gotten people hurt, and some people have been killed behind it. So don't take it for granted and don't brush it under the rug. Jealousy and insecurity needs to be dealt with. So this is very important. So once again, communication, open communication, share your feelings with that person. And you all have to figure out if you can work through it or not, because you need to know why you're feeling insecure and why you're feeling jealous. Okay, step 4, self-esteem. You have to believe in yourself. You have to love yourself. If your significant other is liking people's pictures and they're in bikinis and stuff, okay, look at yourself. Do you need to lose weight? Do you need to go work out? Do you need to go to the gym? If you do, then start making plans to do it. But if you don't want to, tell them, look, I'm not going to do it. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. Love it or leave it. If they love it, you guys move on. But if they leave, they leave. But remember, you have a decision to make. Do you want to live a healthier life, or are you okay with the way you are? That was a mouthful right there. Mindfulness and meditations. Mindfulness helps you stay in the present, and it reduces negative thoughts and ruminating, like thinking over stuff over and over and over again. That's what mindfulness can do for you. So you have to address the negative thoughts, because what you think is how you feel and how you behave. It's like a circle. So when I do my mental health sessions, that's like one of the first things we deal with: how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Positive thoughts, negative thoughts, and triggers. So mindfulness will help you navigate that, because we need to get rid of jealousy and insecurity. Trust building exercises. You can engage in trust building. I'm not saying you got to fall backwards and they got to help you, but you can think of some creative things to do to help you build trust in your relationship. So it could be setting boundaries, knowing how to be reliable, demonstrating trustworthiness. And that's on both sides. Self care. That's another step. You got to take care of yourself, because sometimes we become so consumed with other people that we're more consumed with them than ourselves. And so we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not eating right. We're not drinking water. We're not eating right. We're not sleeping. We are social media stalking people when we should be asleep or when we should be working. Take care of yourself. Make sure you are in a good place and a good space. And when I say good space up here. So seek therapy or counseling. If you've tried to work on yourself and things still aren't going well, go to counseling. Some people may not want to, but we all have decisions that we have to make. You have to put yourself first, your mental health, your physical health first, before you try to help anyone else. How can a person who is sick carry another person? You have to make sure you are in a good place and a good space. So you have to prioritize yourself and make sure you are taken care of. Okay, our next step, cognitive behavioral techniques. So I've already basically talked to you about that. When I do cognitive behavioral therapy with clients, how you think, how you feel, how you behave. And then we deal with the triggers, positive triggers, negative triggers. So we deal with that. So you got to challenge those negative thoughts and work on changing them to positive thoughts. And then, of course, lastly, build a supportive network. Now, I'm not talking about those friends who be like, girl, I told you he wasn't no good. Girl, why you let him do that? Man, why you let her do that? Man, don't take that. But you need that friend who's going to be real with you and be open and honest about you. Like, look, I know you're upset, but let me tell you something that I have observed. You need to talk to people with respect. If you want respect, you got to give it. Or you know what? You've been overspending because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses down the street, and you are putting your family in a financial situation. You need to handle that. Not, oh, he's fussing because I'm spending too much money, or we don't even spend time together because you got him working three jobs because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. So, yeah, you need a real support network. I'm talking about a real one where people will tell you about you and not try to always make it be about somebody else. So find a therapist, a mental health counselor who can actually help you, your pastor or a friend who is really grounded and can really tell you some truth. You need to know how to deal with your jealousy and your insecurities because these can lead to anxiety and depression. So I'll see you next week, next Wednesday, for Wellness Wednesday, as we continue to talk about anxiety and depression and as we deal with ourselves. So, once again, your health is your wealth. Have a wonderful day.